You are your highest priority. Um, I think, and really what I mean by that is choosing yourself, choosing you, understanding that in you loving yourself, in you doing things which are beneficial for you, and you being your authentic self, you're making yourself your highest priority. We live in a society, we live in a world that where a lot of people are just people pleasing, if we're going to be honest. We live in a life and a world that is so focused on, this person's opinion, that person's opinion, that we often can even lose ourselves. And something I've realized is, even in this life, we're called to please God and serve others. But I found in the latter part, in serving others, we can often lose ourselves. And what I mean by losing ourselves, well, losing ourselves in the sense of even when you are serving others, you realize that there are a lot of people to serve for one, and two, what each and every single person requires in that service can be so different. One person wants this from you, then the second person wants that from you, then the third person wants the other thing, and the fourth another. You find that you can almost stretch yourself so much just to please each and every single one of them, that in pleasing them, you lose yourself. In trying to please them, or in trying to serve them, I should say, you go as far as the length of trying to please them that you lose who you fundamentally really are. Right. And in you stretching yourself, you might think that you're doing a good thing. And maybe your intentions were that to do good. Right. But you stretch yourself so much to the point where you lose yourself, and you're so focused on pleasing these people. You're so focused on doing what is deemed right by these people that you're really not even your authentic self anymore. And that's really what we want to address today. In you being your highest priority, you're respecting yourself. And in you respecting yourself, you're valuing yourself, you're loving yourself, and you're choosing yourself. You're choosing things which are beneficial for you. You're choosing things in which you love yourself. You're choosing things which improve you and take you to higher heights. And oftentimes we actually do this really due to the fear of rejection. And again, in my previous videos, I've spoken about how it's really not fear, it's just anxiety. Again, fear talks about when there's this present danger. There is not this present danger if people don't accept you, if they reject you. It really just tells you that maybe they're not your people. It really just informs you of really their true character, their true selves, and it shows you really the type of people maybe you need to step away from, and showing you that your people are to come. You will find your people in due time. So these are the lengths we go to just to be accepted, but in you trying to be accepted by others, you never really truly be yourself. You never express that authentic self. And what I want you to imagine is, we live for 80 or 100, maybe some even more than 100 years. And for this whole lifespan, you imagine you are never actually your authentic self, because you are so focused on wanting to do right by others, because you are so focused on pleasing others. You never actually express to the world, you never really show the world who you truly are. Maybe it comes with, the fear of people seeing your flaws, and to be honest, that really is another reason why we don't truly express ourselves. We try to give people this false perception of perfection, that we don't want people to see our flaws, because if they do see our flaws, they might call it out. And if they call out our flaws, we have to go back home and internally deal with that and reflect over that for some time. We don't really want to face the truth. We'd rather face what's nice. And that's really the difference between nice and being kind. Being nice is telling you what you like to hear and pleasing you. But sometimes telling you what you like to hear isn't even what's beneficial for you. Being kind is coming from a place of love. But being kind is also knowing when to tell you the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes you don't like to hear the truth. But I'm telling you the truth so you can truly reflect over it and improve and actually be a better person. Right? That's the difference between the two. Right? But again, it doesn't surprise me that we live in a world that would rather choose being nice over being kind, because people don't want to hear the truth. People nowadays are so easily offended by anything you say. I mean, you could literally be minding your business, doing your thing, just trying to be your best self, and people still get offended. So you realize, okay, if regardless of the things I do, people are going to have an opinion, right? If I choose option A, they'll tell me, why did you choose A and not B? If I choose B, they'll say, why did you choose B and not A? Right? If regardless of what I do, people are going to have an opinion. If I can't even please everyone anyway, because one person wants this, the other person wants that. And in me trying to please people so much, I almost lose myself. Well, the solution to that seems like I might as well just be myself. And why do I say that's the solution? Because in me just being myself, regardless of the opinions that people might have, that's great for them. I love them with the love of Christ. But I at least have the satisfaction that I was myself. Right. Regardless of whether the opinions that people have are good or bad, there's something that I can learn from it. If it's good, we thank God. It means that I'm, by the grace of God, maybe doing something right. Right. But you also even have to take into account who you're even getting these opinions from. Right. Because sometimes people really just say things out of ignorance, if we're going to be honest, both good and bad. And really need to take time to reflect and understand, does what they're saying really add or subtract to me? Right? Because you find that we live in a life where you can get people who make you fundamentally question who you are. Right? And if you're surrounded by such a people who don't really even see the value in you, again, they always make you fundamentally question who you are as a person. Well, you might have to really distance yourself from such people, right? And if you can't have that honest one-to-one talk with such people, telling them what they're saying and what they're doing isn't right, and they get offended by it, well, it shows you again, maybe these aren't the people for you. And I'm giving you these analogies to help you understand what you being your highest priority looks like. You being your highest priority looks like doing things which are beneficial for you. And sometimes that can be a sacrifice, right? If it's waking up early, if it's eating well, if it's, working on yourself in terms of seeking out knowledge, reading the Bible, right? Or even if you're not a believer, if it's even seeking out knowledge in terms of just reading books, again, the knowledge and the value in books is so great, right? It's doing these things. These things are sacrificial, right? They're not things that we might not necessarily feel like always doing, but they're things which help us continue to grow, mature, and improve, right? And that's really what life is about. Again, it's not about being perfect. Again, we make mistakes, but even in the mistakes I'm making, I'm learning from those mistakes, right? I'm choosing to look at the things that went wrong, right? I spoke about what went right, but even looking at the things that go wrong, and instead of seeing it as labeling it as this bad thing and choosing to neglect it, no, I actually engage with it. I look at this thing that went wrong, I engage with it, and I see, okay, why did it go wrong? What did I do that caused it to necessarily not go in the way I wanted it to, and I learn from it? That's real maturity. That's you being your highest priority. And even in the book, which I spoke about in my previous video, which actually talks about this very line, you are your highest priority. Um, what we even see in the whole story is someone who very much people pleases, right? And then he has to confront his boss, who is of the dominant style, right? Is very dominant, is almost like a dictator in his eyes, and he has to confront him, right? And as he confronts him, he leaves this very secure job where he was getting paid well at maybe one of the highest radio stations, and he was almost so fearful of the fact that, man, if I leave, what is this person going to think about me? What are people going to think about me? What is he going to say? And the line, "You are your highest priority," came back to his mind. It brought him that peace. It brought him that state of mind where he realized, no, I need to do what's beneficial for me, not what people think just looks good on the outside for me. And that's what I want to propose to you guys today. If you truly are your highest priority, do things which are beneficial for you. And again, this is the last thing that I'll leave you with. It's actually from the Bible, and it's, if I'm not mistaken, the second greatest commandment that Jesus actually gave. First and foremost, we see that we are to love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our mind, and with all our strength, right? And then we see that the second commandment, or the second thing which is given unto us, is to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Okay, so if I'm to love my neighbor as I love myself, you realize that I can only love my neighbor to the degree to which I love myself. If I don't love myself, I can't love my neighbor, right? And we even see that, again, he could have so easily said, love your neighbor, just love your neighbor, right? But how can you truly love another if you don't truly love yourself? And then the second thing we can even see from that is the fact that before that command was even given, or that command was even given, he talks about us needing to love God. So we can see that loving self, loving people, and loving God, they're interconnected. Right, I love God, and as I love God, I begin to understand myself more, and as I understand myself more, I can connect with others more. As I connect with myself more, as I love myself more, I connect with those around me more. Right, and that's what I want to propose to you today. Even if you aren't a believer, you can still choose to love yourself. Right, oftentimes we try and do this thing on, whether it's even people pleasing, or whether it's even self improving, right, for other people. So this person can see, so that person can see, or maybe it's trying to get up and over this thing that we might have so deeply experienced in our past that caused a wound. That we try and do this maybe self-improvement thing, or healing thing, to show now I'm better than that now. I'm not who I was then. But you've almost missed it all if you kind of do it for that. Yes, you're not who you were then, but the reason you do it isn't so you can show someone else. It's actually just because you love yourself. And because you love yourself, you want to heal. Because you love yourself, you want yourself to be whole and complete. And for me, in Christ, right? But if you're not a believer, you still want yourself to be whole and complete, so you can function to the best of your ability. And that's what I want to propose to you today. Make yourself the highest priority. Make decisions for yourself that are for you, and not so conscious about having other people in mind. And when I say that, I don't mean you just neglect people, no, but in you choosing to love yourself, first and foremost, you're actually pleasing God, right? Because I imagine that a God who created the heavens and the earth, who made you in his image and in his likeness, would want you to love yourself. Because in you loving, yourself, and you loving yourself, who was made in his image and in his likeness, well, you begin to see you're loving his creation. And if I'm loving his creation, I'm also loving and pleasing him. Secondly, as I do that, as I begin to love myself and do things which are truly beneficial for myself, as I grow, as I improve, as the things around me begin to prosper, grow, increase, and are blessed, right, I can begin to bless others. The love which you had for them before still remains the same, or even as you grow as a person, even the love you have for them begins to grow and increase, right? But you're able to express that love now in a different way. Why? Because you've grown as a person yourself. You've made yourself the highest priority. And as you've done that, you can now show that to others. You can now express that love you have to them in a great and different way. In a way that wasn't the same as before. Right. Again, I appreciate you guys. I hope this video was able to be a blessing to you. And again, I'll see you guys in the next one.